2026. Can we all stand for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. Lene, let's kick this off with a roll call, please.
Edmondson.
Here.
Bjork.
Here.
Gardner.
Here.
Klecker. Blick.
Here.
Morset.
Here.
Toom.
Here.
All right, super. Moving on. Looking for approval of the minutes from the UAB meeting on January 26th. Can I get a motion?
A motion. Approval.
Second. All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, moving on. Ms. LaRue, would you like to come up and have some public comment this evening?
Quick, because I know everyone wants to get going.
Thank you, ma'am.
In January 2013, the River Falls Municipal Utilities learned that our FERC license for operating hydro generation would expire in 2018. It was time to renew. Initially, renewing our license was not questioned. The hydros were debt-free and had a respectable positive cash flow. We hired the firm TRC as consultants for the relicensing. TRC gave us an estimate of $200,000 to $400,000 to complete the licensing. The estimate included all necessary testing, bonds, permits, experts, the works. Shortly after starting the process to relicense, the Kinney River Land Trust, Trout Unlimited, and the newly formed Friends of the Kinney argued to tear out our dams and free the Kinney. Many on our city council rationalized the reasonable path was to go forward, relicense the hydros, and take dam removal options later. After all, the city had just spent almost $1 million reconstructing and updating our hydros. But Friends of the Kinney, Kinney River Land Trust, and Trout Unlimited weren't having it. They convinced the city to request a 5-year extension from the FERC to complete relicensing. The FERC denied our extension. Friends of the Kinney, Kinney River Land Trust, and Trout Unlimited then convinced the city to appeal FERC's denial. Just when our city administrator was ready to move on with relicensing, the FERC granted a 5-year extension. That was in February 2016. Licensing at the most $400,000, but licensing an existing hydroelectric project is straightforward. Maintain the status quo. However, removing 2 dams is a whole nother circus. New floodplain maps have to be drawn. Habitat considerations of all animals, fowls, and amphibians must be studied. Sediment flow is considered, sediment removal active or passive. Plans for decommissioning and dam removal have to be considered. Protections of our environment and wetlands need to also be studied. All of this costing the ratepayers. At one point, Friends of the Kinney asked the FERC to conduct 37 different studies in consideration of relicensing. The irony is that on one hand, these groups wrongly promoted that our hydros were losing money, but on the other hand, the same group stated that the hydros would pay for dam removal costs. That is, the hydros would pay for their own destruction. In any event, over the next 10 years, the Friends of the Kinney, Kinney River Land Trust, and Trout Unlimited paid for none of it. The Kinney Corridor Collaborative tried to raise money. They did a GoFundMe page. They figuratively sold 1-foot sections of the Kinney, and they sent a man who crawled out on the dam with a wagon and a drill to drill cement cores from Powell Falls Dam to sell. The KCC even considered a lottery. The winner would be the person who got to pull the lever one last time to stop our renewable electric generation. But the thing is, the Kinney Corridor Collaborative tried hard to raise money, and you know what? People weren't buying it. The largest check received from the Kinney Corridor Collaborative was funded mainly by one person, not a community of 16,000. It's one thing to go down to Johnny's Bar after a Falcon homecoming game and get people to sign a petition to remove a dam. It's another thing to ask people to pay $1,000 or even $100 to finance it. So the cost of dam removal goes to the ratepayers. Now the city is moving forward with a $24 million taxpayer-ratepayer project to commercialize the Kinney for trout fishing, putting in lunkers, root balls, rock arch rapids, and reclaiming a pond for trout. Where is the nexus between a high-end fishing hole and me paying my electrical bill? My hope is the next time you hear someone complain about the cost of time and treasure to relicense a dam, you correct them by informing them that the reason their rates are going up is not the cost of relicensing, it's the cost of dam removal. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Westhouse, moving on to reports, sir.
Yeah, we have Jenna Willie here from WPPI, our Energy Services Manager. She's our shared Energy Services Manager between us and New Richmond, is here today to talk to you folks about the value of local utility funds that WPPI grants to all of their communities every year. We put that money to work into the community, and Jenna's going to talk about a little bit about where we put that money to work last year. Then I'm always interested in your folks' input of where you think that money should be working within our community. And at some point, I'd even like to have a resolution about maybe our future goals and how we are deliberately funding different things in our community that you think are important. I don't think there's anything earth-shattering or shocking here or edgy, but I do believe it's always good to have input from this board on this topic. So, Jenna, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for having me here. I'm happy to talk about this. I'll keep the edgy out of it, so it should be a little shorter. So I'm going to talk a little bit tonight about our value of local utilities funds. We often shorten this to VLU funds or VLU funds. So pardon me if I use that, but I'm talking about our value of local utility funds. Just a quick introduction. Kevin kind of started it off, but I'm the Energy Services Manager here at River Falls. I also work with New Richmond, so I'm kind of part-time in both utilities. And I also work a little bit with the Schools and Government Program for WPPI, so helping our school districts leverage some energy efficiency projects to help their bottom line, that kind of stuff. So I do a variety of different things here for the utility. I work a lot with our large customers, key accounts. I work with local economic development, and then primarily in energy efficiency, and then a wild variety of other things that I also get involved in and love to do here at the utility. So a lot of working with our local utility programs, helping customers figure out what's going on with their bill or ways that they can save energy are also things that I jump in on as well. But tonight we're going to talk about one of the programs from WPPI that River Falls Utilities participates in, and that is our Value of Local Utility Program. So this is available to all of our 51 participating member utilities. It's managed and set and guided by our MSAG group, or Member Services Advisory Group. So there's a handful of different advisory groups at WPPI made up of member utility staff. So we are directed and guided by members that are the ones that are sort of managing and keeping track of these programs. Kevin, you're still on DSAG, correct? Or RSAG,
RSAG,
right?
Rates Service Advisory.
Yes, yeah, and then there's a Distribution Services Advisory Group as well, which is DSAG. So there's several different advisory groups all set to help us manage these programs. The Member Services Advisory Group is part of this program, and this is one of the things that we offer through the services portfolio, which I'm a part of as well from WPPI. So the funds from the Value of the Local Utility Program are from 4 categories, and they are fixed dollar amounts. So you can see the 4 there, and I'll talk about them in a little more detail as we move forward. The bottom right one, the Customer Services and Branding one, is the one that's a little bit not quite as fixed because it's based on our meter count. So I have our number for 2026 there listed. So total, it's about $48,000 that we're looking at from this fund that the utility has available. So when WPPI set up this program, as with all of our programs, we wanted to make sure we were very clear about our objectives and what the member utility could expect from utilizing this program. One of the big pieces is helping our local utilities that do a lot of great things in their community, that are locally owned. They do a lot for managing their own assets, managing rates, all of that kind of thing, but they're not always great about telling folks about all of the things that they're doing. And so part of this program is helping the utility build its brand recognition, help your community recognize the utility as a reliable and trusted source. We want to help with education, helping customers see the benefits of having a locally owned utility, and then promoting those services and programs, and then building and maintaining relationships. So all things that the program really wanted to help support the utility efforts in doing so, or remind the utility, hey, it is good to do these things, and remind your community that you exist and that you are a good partner. So our 2025 VLU dollars, I just kind of want to talk about a little bit about where those dollars were spent last year. One of the things that I really like about this program is that it allows the utility to engage in the community and take advantage of opportunities as they come up. And so you're kind of see that throughout the examples here, that there are things that the utility is driving, and there are ways that the utility can also respond to things that are happening with some dollars that might not otherwise be available. So in the charitable contributions bucket, this really is to help different entities locally support whatever it is they're doing. Relay for Life has been something that we've supported for years. Operation Help is actually new. With the closing of ARC in town, customers that were struggling to pay utility bills needed somewhere else to go. Operation Help has done its business locally for a while, but they were able to expand to River Falls to offer some help to those that were struggling to make ends meet for their utility bills. So we made a donation to Operation Help the last 2 years, Kids from Wisconsin sponsorship. So, I mean, there's a variety of different ways that those charitable contributions can come up. Sometimes it's a request, and sometimes it's legacy things that we've continually supported.
I just want on Operation Help and formerly the ARC Assisted Resource Center, that money ends up kind of coming back to the utility because it's helping out with utility bills. So, we're giving it, they have the resources and the programs to directly get this to people in need, but that money often comes back to us in paid utility.
It always does, actually.
Always.
When we send the check to Operation Help, it is earmarked specifically only for.
They just have the
customers.
levers and contacts in place to do that work.
Yep. For economic development can be pretty widely used as a bucket. This one is probably the most challenging one, I think. We tend to use ours for the downtown holiday lighting, for tourism and, the beautiful downtown lights that happen every year. But it would be interesting to maybe dive a little bit more deep into how we can use those funds to help drive some more economic development opportunities. I do work with our economic development and support with our programs, but how we can spend dollars to help promote our utility brand and do some of that kind of stuff in the economic development arena would be interesting to look at as well. So maybe a challenge to think about too.
That's another one for feedback, right? I mean, we're doing a downtown holiday lighting because we think it's of value to the community. People like it. It is branding for economic development and getting people downtown. But if you hear differently and you think it's a bad spend, then we need to hear that as well. So that is not cheap, right? Anything that's nice costs money. That's an over a $20,000 a year spend to get those lights up and keep those trees full of lights for the 3 months that we do. So not cheap, but it is nice unless we hear differently and we said we don't like that, then we can move on to something else. But that's why we're doing it today.
Yep. And then in the school education outreach bucket, scholarships are a big one. We offer 3 scholarships every year to the high school. We support Alicia Miller, who does energy education work in our schools for typically the younger grades, elementary school, and then a couple of other scholarships as well. So that's a big, nice outreach that we have locally. We try to specifically, if we can, support students going into the energy industry. It's not always possible, but if we can, we like to support those that are coming hopefully back to work for us someday. And then the biggest bucket by far is the customer services and branding dollars. These are kind of some of the fun ones because oftentimes we use these for things like our Public Power Week event, for branded materials to hand out. This last year it was the cups that were out at the Community Appreciation event to celebrate the milestone for the utility. Utility box wraps that were done this year, those were really neat. And our electrification program. So the electrification of landscape equipment, as well as the electric vehicle charger program. Those funds actually come out of our valuable utility dollars as well.
In the customer service event too, that is, we've even had internal talk like, maybe it's too much, we should stop doing it. It's been one of the mayor's favorites and council's favorites, and they said, go ahead with that one. So we do a spend on that one. It's a nice event. So again, unless we hear differently, we'll keep doing it. So that's a policy decision.
So those are the kind of the ways that we spend the dollars in 2025. I would say year over year, it's a fairly similar pattern that we have, but there's definitely wiggle room in there. Last year was the first year we had increased dollars. So WPPI took a look at the program. The funds hadn't changed since the program started many, many years ago. So they decided to increase those dollars. It was about a $12,000 increase, I think, for us. So there are some additional funds there available. And I do everything I can to make sure we spend them every year because we want to make sure those dollars are getting spent and spent well. So, but we're always open to ideas, as Kevin said, and looking for good ways that we can make sure these are used well.
Yeah, two things on that, Jennifer, just to add on, then we'll go to questions is, so of all the 51 members of utilities, I know WPPI increased this dollar amount, almost doubled it in the last couple of years. And there were some questions internally with the 51 members at our membership meetings that said, how are we ever going to spend that? Well, it turns out, I think 98% of that money was spent last year amongst the communities. So that was almost 100% of the community spent 100% of it. There's a real little bit that was not spent. So we were really pleased with that. And I forget what else I was going to say. Oh, and then the last part was you hit on it at the end. Again, these aren't earth-shattering things. We think these are things that the local municipal utility can add value back into the community. But if there's things we're missing or other directions, this is why I want to tee it up to you folks to think about.
I would welcome any questions or anything you have to ask or offer.
I mean, I just had one, especially with the rebuild of Main Street potentially coming. I mean, we're going to obviously lose some trees for the holiday lighting. Is there going to be a different avenue that you guys have planned already for the budget for the holiday lighting? Because obviously there's nothing to hang it off of anymore. But will there be a different plan for that, or
Actually, we haven't really discussed that. What I have discussed publicly is I think half of those trees will be gone before there's a new Main Street. There's going to be that. So I said enjoy the next couple of years with that display because it'll change. Either it'll be going away or it'll look different. Maybe the trees will be in the sidewalks and maybe there'll be different partnerships with the businesses downtown. But it will look different in 5 years than it looks today. I'll just say that. Whether or not it's because of the new Main Street or because the trees have died, that it'll look different. But no, we do not have a specific plan because there's some uncertainty of timing of death of trees and the redoing of downtown. So, but we're always open to ideas.
Jenna, do you have a number of what we contribute, the ratepayers contribute to this fund that goes, I'm sorry, I should have asked you this question before the meeting, but what the ratepayers pay in, and then you mentioned that I think I heard 48,000 came back.
Mhm.
So are we getting at least the same amount we paid in back? That's historically been.
So to get into the granular, I'd have to ask to get into like the details of how it impacts rates because this program is part of the services portfolio that the utility is a partner and pays for. So I want to say when they were doing, and you might know more than this, I want to say for most utilities, the increase, they were still getting back more than what they were putting in for most.
Yes. So if it's not a 1-for-1 wash, it's real close to that. We may be a little on the plus side or just slightly on the minus side, but it's almost the goal is to have a 1-for-1 on a whole, but
Yes.
some are winners and some
Yeah.
are losers in the deal.
And
Yeah.
that's because
I
of
think-
that cost per meter. And that has to do with if you have large industrial customers, you have less
Certainly,
meters, but bigger,
certainly.
so that's where that wiggle comes in.
Just trying to remember that. I believe we're on the positive side of that by a little bit, but I think we could get numbers on that
Yep,
and
we
share
can.
that with the group.
I can remember back years ago when the council looked at this, I think it was this fund, and there was something like $220,000 sitting there that had not been expended. And the council was not very happy about that because that was not the intent.
I don't know that that would be this one because this fund is not housed at the utility. So WPPI actually houses this fund.
Oh.
So that must be a different fund.
Okay.
Might have been more in the powerful choices area.
That's what
potentially.
it was. I'm sorry. It
Yep.
was powerful choices.
Yes.
Yep.
So the VLU fund is separate from Powerful Choices.
Okay.
This is money directed by WPPI to get utilities to connect to the community. and add
Okay.
value to the
All
community.
right. I'm sorry.
No, that's a
No,
good. It's a
that's
good
good.
distinction to
That was
have.
good.
Institutional knowledge stuck in my head.
That's good. That's good. Yeah, and as you can see again, I think what we're doing is it's not too edgy, right? It's pretty scholarships and community lighting and public power weeks and things that are really they're kind of in line. They're not politically motivated to a church or some other cause. It's pretty much down the middle, trying to get the best value for the most people in the community.
The other thing that's nice is it does allow the utility to be a little bit reactive to requests. We had like the hockey was looking for advertisers, so we were able to use this to help fund an RFMU advertiser at the hockey rink. So it just gives us a little bit of flexibility, which is nice.
Have you looked into like the local fund? Like I know one of the fundraising groups or groups that I've been seen involved in the community is like the Sunshine Fund. Like, have you ever thought about contributing to an organization like that that's held by high schoolers for community members? I mean, this is community members that are in River Falls. In no way am I associated with them, but I have been on the receiving end of
It's one of
that
my
contribution.
personal favorites, actually. And I don't think we've done the Sunshine Fund out of this fund, but we've done something like the Relay for Life, right? That's kind of along those lines a little bit. We did Sunshine Fund?
Yeah, we did. We donated some wellness kits to the
Oh,
Sunshine
we
Fund
did
this
well.
last
Oh
year.
yeah, I forgot about. We handed out wellness kits to the Sunshine Fund to give at the doors. So that wasn't not a giant give, but it was like packets of Band-Aids.
Yeah, ibuprofen.
It was
It's just-
it was like a little wellness kit. So we did some.
Yeah,
It was
it's
not a
definitely
big
stuff
spend,
like
but-
that. Like to me, it's a high school led group. Like those type of involvement kind of I think goes a long ways, especially to community members that look at that kind of stuff and where those not sponsors, but like those.
Right. I'm fairly
Can't think
sensitive.
of what I'm trying to say.
Fairly sensitive to it because in transparency, right? We got to be able to come here, and when we give these dollars, feel good about what we're doing and be able to stand up for that. If it's the trap club, I'd have a little harder time that I like trap shooting. It'd be harder for me to justify that. I mean, we're trying to do it that it's a pretty down the middle of the thing that helps a lot of people.
And remembering too that it's also about helping the utility build a brand. That's why there's the buckets to kind of keep you focused on. Okay, yes, we want to build utility brand. We want to be charitably contributing to our community. We want to be helping local economic development. So like that's the purpose of the buckets. Because sometimes we get asked like, why have the bucket? And it's like, well, it's because it's more than just charitable contributions. Like it's the whole fund should be pictured as a whole and making sure we do have some flexibility to move funds around. For example, we often spend over our $3,500 for scholarships, but we can pull that from customer services
bucket.
and branding. So we do have that ability to flex some of those dollars back and forth if we need to. But the buckets, I think, are still important just, again, to keep that focus on what's the purpose of the program.
So nothing comes to mind exactly, but may have been times where we're buying $100 ad in a program for a band concert or a baseball weekend. But nickel dime stuff. Maybe $100 here or there, but generally it's down the middle of the road stuff. And your input is important on this. You don't have to answer anything tonight, but think about it. And I even have a big audacious goals with that. Like, can we set money aside for some revolving fund that we could over 10, 15, 20 years, start getting it up there to $1 million where you could give interest away to things in the community. I don't know. Maybe that would never be a goal of a group like this, but a bigger goal, maybe. I don't know. I think we're doing nice things with the money we have to connect to the community, but is there something more you'd like to do or less? So no answer needed tonight, but maybe we'll revisit this in the future.
And feel free to reach out to me too if you have any questions.
Thank you. Very nice presentation.
Right. Thank you. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Erica Ellison's here to give us our finance report tonight. Erica has been so gracious to take this upon herself to do. You have this finance background though, and you're I see you get excited about this, which excites me. So,
Well, maybe that's a nerd in me coming out.
and you're starting to put together some very nice graphs and charts to tell the story. So, Erica, the floor is yours.
Well, I don't have any type of formal presentation tonight, but wanted to just come and get ahead of you. Yeah, there's graphs in the packet, and then the glossary of financial terms. So as it's getting ready to be budget season, I'm not sure how much all of you know about kind of the city's standard financial terms. So I wanted to start getting some financial terms in front of you. So when we start talking budget, and we start talking a little bit more about the financial report and digging in, you kind of understand some of the terms that I'm using, and then hopefully I don't lose you in the lights at all. So if you have any questions in particular about any of the glossary of terms, just let me know. Or if there's some other terms that you hear financial wise that that I say that you don't know, just make sure that you stop me, because I want to make sure that you're understanding what I'm saying, and it's easy for me, but doesn't mean it's easy for everybody else. So also we're going to be giving some. You'll notice these reports, the financial reports, a little bit different from last month. Though the actual report looks the same, the graphs, I wanted to make sure we add a little bit more verbiage to help understand what it is that you're looking at. Because some people are visual learners, some people like to read. So I'm not going to read necessarily the report for you, but one thing I wanted to note is the financial report here, they are not finalized yet for the end of the year. We're still going to have CLA, or Clifton Larson Allen, audit all of the financials and all of these enterprise funds. And that will take place, I think that starts here in the next couple months. Usually it's finished by the end of Q2, I believe. So you'll be seeing some of these graphs maybe change, but I don't expect them to materially change and to change the overall position at the end of the year. So the overall position in all of the funds is good. So it's adding to fund balance. They did not overspend, and they're right in line with the budgets, if not ahead of budgets. And by that I mean mostly the revenues. Most of the revenues exceeded the budgets for the year by quite a bit. I don't know if anybody had any questions on the actual financial graphs or reports.
I have just a question. Would that be due to our rate increases that you're?
So some of that is or could be attributed to it. So every single month I want to be coming to Utility Advisory Board with just making the reports and the process a little bit more transparent for all of you. So one of the things that is on the list to do is to look at the revenue over the last couple of years, so you can see how it is changing, and then hopefully we can see where that rate change earlier in 2025, about mid-year, where that happened. So that will be coming once we finalize all the revenues through the financial audit. You'll start to see a financial report that will hopefully be able to show where that rate change did happen.
Thank you. A couple other things we want to be able to show you in the future as well. So that's one of them. Then we want to talk about days of liquidity. So how many days of cash on hand do we have to operate our utilities? That will be coming. Cash reserves, that would be another good one, how that fluctuates. And then our capital improvement projects, and then how are they being spent down as they're planned, and the financing that goes with those.
Yep, and I was gonna say the financing is, where are we at with those debt payments? When is it gonna come off the books? What does that look like? And trying to give a little bit more information on those debt payments. You'll see in the electric, sewer, or wastewater and water utility funds, there were some debt service payments that you were able to see in a couple of the months on the graphs. So we just want to try to give you a little bit more information on what those debt service payments are, and again, when they'll be paid off.
So we've identified 4 or 5 buckets we think would be of interest to this group that you can track on an ongoing basis.
Perfect. Well, thank you.
Yeah, as we start winding this down, I think we can kind of combine 4 and 5 a little bit here, and talk about utility dashboards and monthly reports. I think I just go into some of the monthly report. One of the ones in the water department, just of note, is a water main break at 511 East Johnson on January 21st. It was a big radial crack in that pipe. And the team who worked on it, I just want to give a shout out to Brent, Tim, Todd, Thomas, David, and Joe, and some public works folks who also came in and helped out with that. That's another exclamation mark on how these people are working together. But that was a repair that took 7.5 hours due to frost, saturated sandy soils, and creating difficult excavating conditions. It was a very tough one on a very cold, blustery day. They stuck with it all day, and they got all the services back in line that day. So, yeah, and he was even delayed a couple times for the extreme cold. Guys needed to warm up, and it was not good. So they repaired it with a stainless steel repair band and new service tap, and installed a few feet from the original break, and it all worked out in the end. So I just need to give those crews a shout out for that extreme situation there on East Johnson. So, and again, thank you, Erica's folks, for helping out with that. Great work. I think that was one in the utility reports I think was worth mentioning. Then moving into some announcements as well. Lene did give you this grand opening on March 31st for the Sci-Tech building. Chris, it seems like just yesterday we were at the groundbreaking ceremonies, right? So we're going to put a big red bow on this. We're going to go to if you would like, you could reach out to Lene and she will get you registered for that. It's between 2 and 6 o'clock on Tuesday, March 31st. If you'd like to go, probably they have tours, I believe, ribbon cutting and some tours. If you want to see that, so yeah, you have to let Lene know by March 16th for that. If you'd like to go see the new Sci-Tech building on the UW campus. I don't have a lot of other announcements. Things are going well, and so we know a dryer building. I'm going to give you a little dryer building update. So I was talking to Bill Swenson today, and he's like, I don't get it. He goes, we were producing sludge, but the BCR dryer company said the sludge they were receiving from the screw press had too much polymer in it. So the screw press people are ordering new polymer that's supposed to be here this Wednesday. It's like the third time they've ordered polymer. You may quietly be asking the question, why weren't they figuring this out 3 months ago? Which I'm asking. But so the new polymer that's supposed to handle cold weather polymer, they call it. It's supposed to be here Wednesday. Schwing Bioset that runs the screw press will be here when that arrives and start getting that dialed in. And then BCR will be back on site with operating the dryer, and hopefully we get to the finish line. So, but I've been saying that now for 2 months, and I'm not holding my breath. But we're really, really close. And Bill said I'm confident this is working. I've seen it work. I know it's going to work. Things are in place, but we just have to get it over the finish line. With that said, we are still hauling a lot of our product over to Ellsworth. We got the invoice for that, and we gave the invoice to Waukesha Construction, our general contractor. So I'm not saying this is going to be easy there. I mean, we notified them in early December that if we were hauling sludge after January 1, any hauling costs were going to be borne by the contractor. We let them know that, and we just gave them that $58,000 invoice last week. It's about $60,000 a month now for our removal. So you folks and City Council is going to be seeing an analysis and a little more depth on what I'm talking about today later this week. Actually, as I'm starting to write that memo, I was like, well, we did an analysis back in 2020 and 2021 that the analysis had got us to move to build our own dryer. We did a lot of assumptions at that point in time. Well, we made assumptions, and now we have actual numbers. So like some post-game analysis, right? We know exactly what West Central Wisconsin Biosolids is costing us over those years and now. And we know what our debt payment is now. So I'm going to put that on paper, and we're going to look at it and say, hey, that was a good decision. Or say, oh, wow, it wasn't what we thought. But in my early look at that, I do believe the West Central costs are much more than we thought they were going to be in 2021. So I think some of the high estimates were $600,000 a year. I think we're gonna be north of 700,000 a year, so. But stay tuned, I'm having Lene help put those numbers together. And then I'll write it in a memo, talk about where we're at, talk about the rub we're having with the general contractor and completion timeframes related to the contractual agreements and all that, so be looking for that later this week. It's not terrible, but it's not good. How about that?
With that being said, knowing there's a hauling cost, is there a cost that West Central Biosolids is charging us on top of the trucking?
So I looked, no, they're not. So I was thinking about that over the weekend. So today I looked at that bill we got last week and they're charging us the member rate. I'm going to call it the friends and family rate right now. So I thought, because I'm supposed they could charge us that we're not a member. So, but I'm sure they're working on keeping their relationship good. There might be a day when they need to haul out their stuff to us. So we've had a good relationship with them, but we're getting the member rate. I know there's another question that's been out there, changing utilities, going back over to electric. You folks approved a line truck last year, and that is almost complete. I got the word today they're finishing some painting and finishing up some painting and final specific work that they were requesting on the truck. And by the end of March, we should be getting that truck. That's been a while.
It has been a while.
It's been 10 months, 8 months, 10 months?
Oh.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So that's where that's at.
Perfect. Thank you.
Mhm.
All right, we've done the announcements. Looking for a motion to adjourn.
All motion.
I'll second.
Meeting's adjourned.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Erica. Thank you, Jenna. Great job.